So it looks like you can't change the fan belt without taking the radiator out to take the fan off, which is cool. So we'll change that at a later date. That's fine, we've got the part, it's okay. But what I'm thinking, the main reason for doing it anyway is the alternator. So if we can pop the radiator belt out of the way, it should let us get this off. I'm not sure where this is supposed to go, but I know it's not supposed to be roaming free. I might see if it wants to go with this bolt. So interestingly, this alternator wants to sit around here, but it was being pulled backwards before. So I think we're probably missing a little spacer in there. Obviously someone's tried to make one here, but I don't think we're quite thick enough. But it's the perfect size for an M10 nut and that spacer. Then we can also fit an M10 penny washer to stop that from pulling through. Interestingly, the arc that this is on isn't even correct, so let's quickly fix that as well. So you might be able to see a little bit better up here, but this bracket isn't on the same angle as the actual alternator. So I think, yeah, perfect. So if you undo that, we can tweak this, add our special spacers, very special spacers in, which will then let us take the stress out of everything. If we can find where that needs to go. There. Try and take a bit of stress off that cable. Then in theory that should be a one happy alternator. In theory. You also might have noticed the hose is rubbing here. I did see on the service manual the radiator for this is supposed to direct the hose over to the left here, but for whatever reason it's not doing that. Perhaps we haven't, well, as with everything else on here, we probably don't have the right radiator, so we'll just have to hope that doesn't rub through, but we'll keep an eye on it. So next on the list of easy things to do is the air cleaner. So you've got one big wing nut on the front. Then we'll put that somewhere for safekeeping. And that has definitely seen better days. Obviously, on the inside, used to be that colour, on the outside, black. Not that colour. So we've also got a little trap down here, I guess, for dirt, which is cool. I don't think this has been off for a while. Ow. Yeah, so we've got all our debris in there, so let's just go and get rid of that. So we should be able to pinch it at the bottom to get the debris out, but it was pretty well stuck on there, pretty well full. So this is what we're using, a Shaw filter, SFA 1108F. Does it fit? It sure does. So now we're going to change over our oil pressure switch, which looks damaged. And it's also unplugged. So either it's damaged and doesn't work, or we've got no oil pressure, but we don't know. We'll find out together. And I'm hoping that it's not brimmed with oil. It shouldn't be, but you never know. So this looks like it was held in with sealant, which is a good sign. Probably not. So we're going to be using this part. 1A 024 39010. So this is on a tapered thread, so we don't need to crank it all the way in, just until it starts to get tight. So I think there should be pretty good. And then we can plug this little guy back in. Interestingly, the starter motor's taken some hammer blows, so I wonder if this got broken off when they were encouraging the starter motor. But then, you know, who can blame the starter motor when the wiring still looks like that? But we'll fix that. We're just waiting for the Just waiting for the replacement wiring to turn up for that, and the fuse, which should be here, and it's in here. So we're also going to swap out our fuel filter, so we'll turn that off. So we're just going to need a can because this is full of diesel. So we've got a fair bit of sediment there in the bowl, so I'm just going to go clean this out, and I'll bring you back when that's all fresh. Okay, so I've got the housing nice and clean now. There's a couple of bits in the bottom, but I think that's just staining. So we've got our genuine new filter here, so a little bit cleaner, but you know, that's not horrendous. I seam this just yeah, squeezes on like so, and then I'm going to go put a bit of diesel in this because obviously we don't want to well, actually, because we've got the manual thing here, we might be able to fill it from the tank, so let's just squeeze this on. Yeah, so we should be able to fill that from the tank. But saying that, if we fill it from the tank, then we're going to have a load of air in here. So I'm just going to pop a bit of diesel in, and then I'm going to come back. So I don't know if I put too much in or not. I don't know if you can see. I'm up to here with the fuel. So if we go slow, I'm hoping the filter just sort of absorbs it. So that's now filling from the tank. So if we clean some of that off, it should help us keep an eye out for leaks. But I think that should be good enough. To be honest, the old one doesn't look too bad, but you know, they're so cheap, and judging by the state of everything else, it probably needed to be done, so let's do it. Right, on to the next thing. So one of the next jobs to tackle, this is supposed to have a spring attached to the end of it. This spring, 66204 43323. This one has snapped, which is no good because it's supposed to be holding an arm on the other end. So I'm going to take these nuts off, attach the spring to the other side of the arm, attach the spring to the bottom of this, feed it back up, hopefully screw it back on. The visibility's terrible, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see what I'm doing, so I might cut this, but we'll see how we get on. Right, I'm going to get the gun so I don't hurt myself. So on there, it's supposed to be a spring, as you can see. No spring. So, sorry guys, I wasn't really able to show you doing this because it's really well hidden. So you can see the spring down here, and what that's doing is lifting a lever up, which translates onto the pedal there, which helps that pedal find its neutral position in between forwards and backwards. So something that I noticed on this is it's got return springs that somebody has added. So I'm really hoping that this solves the issue of the pedal finding its midpoint. So we can go and check that now. So somebody's added this spring on the backwards side, and then they've added these springs on the forward side. And what those springs would do is balance this rocking pedal out. Now what I'm really interested in now is if we take the springs away, so it does seem to help us find our neutral point here. So this rocking here, the pin seems to be undersized, the pin for the pedal. So all this is movement in the linkage. It may be normal, but it helps us bring it back to neutral. And then we just have that play in the pedal. But that's great, because then we can get rid of all of the springs. And we'll put the bolt back in what I assume is an inspection plate. So mark that down as another success. So just quickly back onto the brakes, we're going to swap the damaged pin that I replaced with a bolt out for a pin. So that should give us a little bit less free play in the pedal. Yeah, so that's tightened that up a little bit. So we've got a bit better action there. I'm just trying to keep this topped off with penetrant, just to keep that free and mobile. So now the pin is replaced, our pedal is fixed, our brakes are working correctly. We can do one of two things. We can either put the foot plate back on, or we can try and work out why we can't shift between 2 and 4-wheel drive. So the lever here is stuck. We know, well, we think we know. I think it's going to be the same as this lever, i.e. stuck with the ball bearing. So we're just going to reinstall our footrest here. Now we've sorted out the pedal levelling, and we've sorted out our brakes. All of the threads have been cleaned up, so we can chuck this back on. I've already put some anti-seize on these bolts. And I've added some replacement bolts for the bottom. This is what I'm using, but it gets everywhere. Then we need to add our brackets. Okay, start. So based on the state of the linkage arms that we took off, we absolutely needed a new set. So I've gone ahead and bought a set off eBay, so let's see how well or not well that it fits. So the kit didn't come with the pins for the top arms, but that's okay in principle. I've got some bolts left from some work I did on a Golf, and they fit perfectly. So for now we'll stick these on, but obviously we'll leave them loose. Obviously these parts need to rotate. So it's not perfect, but we'll see how we get on. Then of course we've got our top link, which will go in here. And we'll have to use this crusty old pin because it didn't come with new link pins. But that's okay, we'll test it for now. We'll just tighten up those spacers, or to be honest, they're so tight, they're probably okay where they are, to be honest, and we'll just nip the bolts up. So I'll do that, and I'll come back for the next thing. So I've not had much success with the exhaust studs. Snapped another one. They're not moving. They're in there. So I think we're going to have to weld some nuts onto them. Hopefully get them really hot, glowing, and try and get them out. Obviously if we can't get them out, then we're going to drill them out, I suppose. And then if we can't do that, then the manifold's got to come off. But we'll see how we get on. But anyway, we're going to try and sort some of this wiring out now because I've got the bits to do that. They've turned up. Let's get you out of the way. That's great. So obviously the wire's damaged back to about here. So we'll snip this guy off. And let's sort this mess out. And obviously we're going to replace that with I'm going to put a fuse in. We're going to try 30 amps and see if it blows. If it blows, we'll get 40 amps and we'll just keep going and see what happens. I think the equivalent sort of fuse to the fusible link should be about 40 amps. So So I'm going to double crimp this. That looks okay to me. Got a bit too tight on the sleeving here. So I pre-made this, well, fuse, link. I've done it with 2 female spades on this end, so you can't join them together. And we'll just add a extra bit of insulation around this wire. Obviously, given its condition, it can't hurt. So then we'll pop all of these back in their sheath. I'll probably take this, well, I definitely will take this up in a second. I just wanted to get the right length out of here. So then I think what we'll do is we'll snip it here and then make the connection. Just realised I should have used insulated terminals. That's okay. This may only end up being temporary anyway, so. So I've made the fly lead connection here. So we'll try and sneak it in with this. Like that. He says, hiding the view. I think these are supposed to be the other way around, but that's okay. We can adjust that quickly now. like I said, we should have used insulated connectors here, because obviously we don't want these touching and shorting out. For now, we'll use a tape method, but this will just be a temporary solution to test whether these work. And that should give them some physical separation there as well. But certainly that is much safer than what we had before. Okay, so I'm going to quickly whip the new bracket on for the battery tray. Just in primer for now, but that'll do for this season, I think. And with that, we can now get the wheels back on. Okay, so we're just going to put the wheel back on. It didn't have any wheel pins, so I'm going to replace them. And then the wheel pin will slot through. I've done this in a bad way because I can't see. I can't see. So I'm going to pop the wheel pin in and pop the other side back on, and then we should have all 4 wheels back on. So I've not been recording because I knew this was going to be an absolute nightmare. I'm a couple of hours into this. I've managed to get the 2 snapped studs out. I've been welding nuts onto them. And I don't know if you can see, but it's been snapping off the next section of stud. Then you weld another nut on, then it snaps the next section of stud off. So in the end I ended up drilling them out, which normally doesn't work out for me, but this time I've either got better or got lucky. So that's where my luck ended. The exhaust that we got for this, here's the flange. All right, okay, fair enough. Doesn't fit. Great. So you can see if we line the bottom 2 holes up, the top 2 aren't aligned. Then if we align the top 2, it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but basically they're slightly off. So what I've elected to do for now is I've lopped the old exhaust off, and luckily the face, or sorry, the next section of the exhaust seems to hold on to this okay. So I'm going to slap this back together and let's see if it holds. So I was going to replace all 4 studs, but I had such a bad time getting the 2 out that were snapped. I've decided to leave the other 2. The threads are a bit messed up on this one. So I think what we're going to do is going to use the new studs to do the bulk of the work in clamping, and we'll just use the old studs to finish it off. Now, I think the tricky bit is I've had to cut this old exhaust flange off. So it started bending about here into a tight radius. So the challenge is going to be trying to get the clamp to clamp because the studs are too long. Of course, the other option is we can shorten the studs. And that might be what we have to do, I think. Otherwise we're going to have not much chance at all of getting this to clamp. Because yeah, otherwise we can't access the Okay, so now with our bolts trimmed, we can fit our exhaust. Then the final section here. I'll be interested to see if the side panel gets past that clamp. I'm not sure if it will or not, but I guess we'll find out.